Welcome to the bonus workshop for Session 10, our lesson on fingerstyle guitar. Let's look at what we learned this session. We learned proper fingerstyle technique. I gave you 3 simple finger patterns to get you started on all this. We learned about Merle Travis, and we learned about classical playing, some different types of fingerstyle work, and also we learned in our guitar tips section how to get control and speed in your fingerstyle playing. Now, the most important skills for you to master for this session are gaining the proper fingerstyle technique, getting the flow of it. I want you to build familiarity with these 3 finger patterns. Not that they're the only ones, but they're some of the main ones, and it's a good place to get you started. And the most important thing that we're going to be developing during this session is the motor skill control over our fingers. We need that muscle control. We haven't dealt with physical issues in a couple of sessions. We are back to a physical issue session on this one. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's review the proper right-hand technique for fingerstyle guitar playing. So we're going to talk about right-hand technique. This is your fingering hand. First thing, you want to have a relaxed fingering hand. You don't want to be tensed up. You don't want to be all tensed up. Get claw hand over here. You don't want to do that. You want to relax that hand. You know how your hand, if you just let it fall over your guitar and it's all relaxed, you end up with this rather C-looking position. That's your 0 position. That's your least stress position. How I want to apply that to the instrument, I bring that relaxed hand up to my strings and I put my 3 fingers on the bottom 3 strings and my thumb, let's say, on the top string. But I'm still relaxed, so I haven't made big moves here. So you don't want your wrist way out like that or crunched in like that. Just a good, relaxed, comfortable hand. Move it up. And I have my 3 fingers and my thumb on there, each strings. Bring your thumb slightly forward, a little bit more than you would normally do it. You would probably normally came like that. I need it to go a little bit further in front so that he has freedom of motion as well as our first finger has freedom of motion. Every finger needs to have this freedom to move without knocking into each other. Okay? Usually folks put their hands back there and the first finger and the thumb bang into each other. Every finger needs to have freedom of movement. Here's the next thing. Go slow. When you're trying to build right-hand technique, go slow. Speed will come as you gain control. The key to speed is control. As your fingers, after they play, they're going to cup, these 3 are going to cup up into your palm. Just very comfortably. So as I'm playing, my wrist isn't really moving. It's just my fingers doing the work. Now remember, we will refer to our fingers as T for thumb, 1 for first finger, 2 for second finger, 3 for third finger. If you're looking at a classical guitar book you might have picked up at the music store, those are going to be referred to as P, pulgar, our thumb, I, first finger, index, M, medio, the middle finger, and A, annular, which is the third finger. P, I, M, and A. We're going to refer to them in this more common way as just thumb 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let's start off with finger pattern number 1. Let's remember what finger pattern number 1 is. The pattern is thumb, first, second, third. Thumb. Let's put our hands on our guitar. The first 3 strings, the G, the B, and the E, are going to go with your 1, 2, and first, second, and third finger. So your first finger's on this third string G, second finger's on this second string B, third finger's on this first string E, and your thumb is going to be down here on the 6th string. So we have E, G, B, and E. Let's go that pattern. Thumb 1, 2, 3. So we're real slow. We're going to do it real slow. We'll speed up later on in the lesson. Ready? Go. Thumb, then first finger, second finger, third finger. Thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger. Thumb, second, third, thumb, first, second, third, thumb, 1, 2, 3, thumb, 1, 2, 3. Each finger cupping up into the hand. Nice good note with your thumb there. Just keep going. Okay, now I want you to look somewhere else in the room. Don't look at your hand. Try to get a feel for how these fingers are going to feel tugging against those strings. A little bit faster. Ready, and thumb. 1, 2, 3. We'll just kind of stay there for a second. Try and keep up with me here. And stop. Okay, let's get to work with all of this stuff. We're going to be working through the bonus workshop exercises for session 10. These and many other resources are available to you online at learnandmasterguitar.com/resources. These are the ones we're going to be working on here are the finger pattern number 1 bonus exercises. The goal in all of this is to develop a smooth fingering motion. Concentrate on the physical movements of your hand while you play. I made it, the chords are pretty easy on these first couple. I want you to concentrate on what your hand is doing. If I can get your hand moving right, then we can develop speed and all that sort of stuff, but we'll never get to fast playing and accurate playing if we don't get the finger motion, the motor skill part of it, worked out. Try to play as smooth and as even as possible. And you'll get better at this. It'll be pretty rough at start, but as you do it more and more, it gets easier. Start with number 1. Finger pattern number 1 exercises. This is number 1. Starts on an open C chord. Nice and slow. Ready, play, thumb, 1, 2, 3. Then we go to an A minor 7th chord, so we just take our third finger off. Thumb, 1, 2, 3. Then we go to our old friend open D minor 7th with that little bar there. Then our thumb jumps down to our 6th string. Then we play them all together. Let's try that one more time. This is number 1. Ready, go. C, A minor 7th. Try to be steady with it. D minor 7th. G 7th. And C. Very good. Now let's do number 2. Now don't get panicked because I have an 8th note there. We're gonna go real slow with it. Starts on that E minor. 1, 2. Then it just does this pattern again. E, G, B. Now to a D chord. Smooth and even strokes. C. Make sure each note is sounding out clearly. B 7th. Actually, that's the barred B7 now I get to look at it. Let's do the bar B7. And then E minor. Okay, let's try that one a little bit faster. Number 2. Ready, go. D chord. C chord. Then here's that barred B7. Hold that bar down nice and strong. And E minor. Now, on number 3, we add some bar chords to it. A little bit more. I get you out of the open chords here. Don't freak out that I went to 16th notes. I just want you to repeat that 4/16th note pattern for every beat in that measure. So you have 4/16ths and you have 3 slashes. Each one of those slashes, I just want you to continue that same pattern. Okay, let's grab a C minor 7th. Nice and slow. Ready, go. Do it again. We'll do this 4 times. 3, 4. Then we go up to the barred B flat at the 6th fret. Then we're going to shift down to A flat at the 4th fret there. I wrote the tab in on the bottom there so you can kind of get an idea what we're doing from the tab. Then open G, not open G, sorry, this is the bar G. Now we're going to go to the second line. This is the second line of number 3, down to that F minor. Hold on to that F minor. A flat here. Here comes that G sus. Resolving to the G. And C minor 7th ends it. Now, you can play that one faster as you develop more skill and control with it. The reason I get confused on the, you have to watch on the fingerstyle stuff, it's very important looking at the music where the notes are taking you in the written music. You'll notice that sometimes, like I was trying to go to an open G there when it actually was a barred G. If you look at the written music, that's where you kind of figure that out. You can't just look at the chord changes on top. Let's move on to the next one. This is finger pattern number 2. Let's look at what finger pattern 2 was doing. We have thumb, and now we go 3, 2, 1. Thumb, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 1st finger. 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 1st finger. Okay, so let's get a little bit of practice on this. We're just going to have our just open strings. We use that low E, and then our G, our B, and an E again. Go nice and slow. Thumb, 3, 2, 1. Ready? Play. Thumb, 3, 2. Make sure you're hitting each string that you need to hit. Don't let a finger hit the wrong string, like you were trying to go for the 2nd, and you actually hit the 3rd. Each one has its own territory. Thumb, 3, 2, 1. Thumb, 3, 2, 1. Thumb, 3, 2. Now, this may be difficult for you at first to kind of get the spatial relationships between the strings, and you may be hitting the wrong strings. A good way to practice that is to not look at your hands. Look at your hands to get the motion of it, and then try to look somewhere else in the room. That will help you develop that hand. You need to develop where your hand knows where it's at without you having to guide it with your eyes. That's what we're going for. Take a look at finger pattern number 2. Bonus exercises from your bonus resources. We're going to try and play this as smooth, again, smooth and even as possible. Let's start with number 1. Okay, still on that C chord, just like we were on the last one, number 1. But now, instead of going thumb 1, 2, 3, we're going thumb 3, 2, 1. Ready? Go C chord. Then I just repeat this measure. That's what that dot, those 2 dots. Let's talk about that. You have 2 dots and a line. We haven't run across that symbol yet. What that symbol means is you just repeat whatever happened in the previous measure. You'll see that symbol quite often. Sometimes if you don't want to write the whole measure out again, you can just put this little measure repeat sign with 2 dots and that 1 slash, and that means you repeat that the prior measure. Okay, here we go. Number 1 again. Ready? Go. Then we do this again. A 7th, open A 7th. Thumb, 3, 2, 1. D 7th. It's all about control. Make your fingers do what your mind is telling them to do. Let's do that again. Number 1, back to the beginning. A 7th, D 7th, slow and steady. You don't want to be real choppy with it, just slow and steady. And then C chord at the end. Let's take a look at number 2. That one starts in this A chord. Then we go to an F sharp minor, bar, B minor 7th, a bar chord, then back to open E. Look at those last 2 measures in that line. I kind of do a combination of the first finger pattern and the second. I take you up and then we come back down again. Okay, number 2. Nice and slow. 1 and ready, go. F sharp minor, B minor 7th, E. Let's go ahead and repeat that. A, F sharp minor. You'll notice we're getting a little bit faster. B minor 7th. Three, two, one, thumb. 3. Here comes this one. We'll do this one real slowly. A, thumb on both those first 2 notes, and then 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, thumb, thumb. Those last 2 measures again are thumb, thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, thumb, thumb. Now you'll notice I put finger numbers in there in the written music to give you an idea of how you should play that. That's where you get those 2 T's. That's 2 thumbs in a row. That's what that is. Number 3. Now instead of being on these last 3 strings, the first, second, and third, I'm going to be on the fourth, third, and second strings. Okay, this is number 3 of finger pattern number 2 exercises. Okay, last one of this. It's in 3/4 time. I go up and I go back down. Let's practice that rhythm first. There it is. Let's do it one more time, that first measure. Okay, now let's play number 3 again. E minor, A minor 7th, D 7th. Repeat it a little bit faster. D7. Can you go a little bit faster? Starting to sound a little bit like music now. All right, let's take a look at the next pattern, the third of our 3 patterns, finger pattern number 3. This is the one that I use most often in actual real playing. Trying to be smooth and even as we're playing these exercises, but here's the pattern. Thumb, 2, 1, 3. Let's do that again. Thumb, 2, 1, 3. Thumb, 2, 1, 3. Here we go. Number 1. Nice and slow. Ready, go. Then I play this again. A minor 7th. Regular old D minor. Make sure you're accurate on your thumb notes, because he's the one jumping. Do it again. Repeat. A little bit faster. And a C chord at the end. Let's take a look at number 2. We're back into A for number 2. Look at those chords. Take a quick glance over those chords first. I have an E sus and an E resolving in the same measure. They're on the 4th measure. Here we go. Number 2. Ready, go. thumb, 2, 1, 3, thumb, 2, 1, 3, thumb, 2, 1, 3, thumb, 2, 1, 3, thumb, 2, 1, 3. E sus. E. Repeated. A. Resolve. A. Last one on this page, number 3. Again, we're not on the last 3 strings, we're in these middle 3 strings. Let's slow that down. Let me slow that down. Let's play it together. Ready, go. Make sure you're playing the right strings. Open B 7th here. E minor. C. Let's repeat it, speed it up a little bit. One more time, let's repeat it. Here we go, ready, go. Do it again. Thumb 2, 1, 3, thumb 2, 1, 3. Okay, the next thing we want to look at is a little song that I put together for you to learn from. It's called a D minor etude. Not etude, etude. Now let's look at this simple song. What an etude is a piece of music that is designed, it's specifically designed to help the player develop some technical ability. Okay, it's not designed to be a wonderful piece of music, people to sing. It's designed for a purpose, and etudes are designed for a purpose to help you develop your technical ability. In this case, we're developing our finger independence, which is something we're going to need to know for fingerstyle guitar playing. Let's take a look at this first line. You'll notice I've switched back to my steel string acoustic just to give a little variety in what we're doing here. Look carefully at the tab that is notated on the written music to it. I very meticulously put in those finger numbers so everyone would be able to see what fingers I'm using, because some of them are not normally the finger that you would normally use on the, let's say, the D minor chord, which is the first one. Okay? Those are the little numbers that are next to the notes. Those indicate which finger is supposed to fret each note. Okay? So let's take a look at the chords here on line 1. Starts out with a D minor chord form, but instead of my normal third finger here, I'm going to put my pinky there on that second string. See how that is? We'll do a regular thumb, 1, 2, 3. Now the next measure, I have my third finger available, and I'm going to put him on this C. The other fingers stay the same. Now I have to switch things up a little bit, and I'm going to move my second finger to the fifth string, second fret B. I kind of have to move the other fingers in there to still catch that D minor at the top. And then now I go to B flat. Look at the key signature. You have a flat sign on that key signature. So how do I do that? Well, I have my first finger on the B flat, third finger on that A, pinky on the D, open on the E. So let's play that first line again. D minor. Add the C. We have to switch our fingers around to catch that B natural. We switch to an E right there. Let's look at the second line now. Kind of an A suspended form. Open, third, fourth, open. Then first finger on that B flat, everything else stays the same. Second finger on this B natural, everything else stays the same. Back to B flat, first finger. Let's go ahead and repeat that second line. Open A. First finger there. Second finger on that B natural. It's really the same chord, we're just shifting this bass note around. Let's go to the third line. Back to that A suspended form. And kind of an A7th form. A little bit of a slur here. And then you come all the way up to the 10th fret and you bar the lower 3 strings and hit that 4th string D. Okay, I'm going to play it for you one more time, up to tempo a little bit. Second line. Maybe I can get a little bit louder here. Kind of back it off a little bit. Repeat it. Make a little music happen with it. Bring it up in volume a little bit. Third line. Next thing we want to look at is a song that was in your book. Let's look at The House of the Rising Sun, which is in your book on page 61. I'll leave you to work out the single note melody. What I want to focus on now is the accompaniment part, and that's written on the tab staff. Let me get it up here. It's in 3/4 time, so there's 3 beats per measure, and the accompaniment pattern is a combination of finger patterns 1 and 2. It goes thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. And then it goes to the next chord. Let's do that first measure, A minor. Do it one more time with me. Ready, go? Okay, now let's play line 1 together. Ready, go. To a C chord, D chord, a big F bar, A minor, C, E, second line, A minor, C, D, F, E, very good. Now, there's another song in the bonus resources that I gave for you to work on. It's the little intro piece that I improvised at the start of the main section of Session 10. We've had some folks write in and on the discussion board and say that they were interested in knowing what that song is and how to play it. So I've included it in the bonus materials along with a detailed description of what I was playing, the chords I was using. It's got the tablature and the music notation with it. Many of the chords may not be familiar to you yet, but we'll learn those in time. So have fun working on that Session 10 intro. It'll be a good stretch for you. And I know that you are also working on Canon and D, which is a big stretch as well, but it's well worth the effort put in for it. Lastly, let's talk about keys for control and speed, for gaining control and speed. I gave you some keys for gaining control and speed in your fingerstyle playing. First, always practice with a metronome. As you are available to practice, have your metronome out and work with that. It'll help your time get a little bit more steady. You won't see speeding up and slowing down. Always practice with a metronome when you're trying to get this early stuff of fingerstyle playing. Second thing, slow down. Resist the urge to speed up. You got to get the motor skill control first, and then you can speed up all you want. But if you try and go for speed without getting the motor skill control, you'll never have it. I want you to use proper right hand technique. Try and make an effort to look at your hand, think about what your hand should be doing. Lastly, repetition, repetition, repetition. The whole idea with all this fingerstyle patterns is that they become second nature to you, and you start to use them without having to think about them. Thumb 2, 1, 3, thumb 2, 1, 3, thumb 2, 1, 3, thumb 2, 1, 3. All that is just thumb 2, 1, 3. And it takes time and repetition to build that motor skill coordination up to where you can do it. It may seem impossible now, but with steady, consistent, relentless repetition of these patterns, they will eventually become a very natural flow for your fingers to go. Let me encourage you. Playing fingerstyle is a very rewarding technique that we've only scratched the surface on. I would encourage you to listen to some of the great fingerstyle guitar players that are around. If you're into classical music, then check out anything by Christopher Parkening, Andre Segovia, Pepe Romero. The whole Romero family are just phenomenal with the classical playing. If you're into the Merle Travis technique, which we covered in the main session, check out Doyle Dykes, Tom Bresch, of course Merle Travis, or the great Tommy Emmanuel. There are other very phenomenal fingerstyle players like Phil Kagi and even into some weird stuff like Michael Hedges that will open up your mind to the whole world of fingerstyle playing. They are well worth listening to some of their music and learning from these great players. Keep growing and learning, and I will see you next time. Here's some tips for learning this material that we've covered here in Session 10. Work on the skills that I've given to you slowly. I know I've said that probably a half a dozen times during the course of all this stuff, and you need to hear it a good 10 more times. Work on the skills slowly. You're just not going to get them to be accurate if you just keep bumping your head against the wall. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, I'll get it this time. You'll never do that. You'll do that for days or years in some guitar players' circumstances. All you need to do is slow that down. Take a good few minutes to do that. Second thing, good fingerstyle technique takes patience. Results don't happen overnight. They come in a matter of weeks. Just do the exercises. You're going to sound clumsy at first. Everybody does. Work with a metronome. After, get the finger motions first, and then work with a metronome. Don't work with a metronome at the very beginning. You'll just get frustrated with yourself. Give it some good, focused attention, these fingerstyle patterns. It takes a while, but don't believe the lie that you can't do it just because it takes a little bit of time. It's going to take a couple of weeks to get the flow of this. For some of you, it may be easier. For some of you, it may be much more difficult to learn that, but you can get it. I haven't run across any that haven't. It takes time to get your motor skills to do what you need them to do. Slowly, you will notice your hand working and flowing easier and faster without as much mental effort as this initial stage requires. Keep up the great work. For this session, you're ready to move on when you can play all the fingerstyle technique exercises on pages 57 through 59 in your book at quarter notes equal 92 beats per minute. You're ready to move on when you can play the Giuliani exercises 1 and 2 that I gave you in the presentation, evenly and controlled at 60 beats per minute. And also, while I'm talking about that, I would encourage you to go ahead and get the Giuliani exercises. It's 120 right-hand exercises that are great. Pretty much any music store would have these. Third thing, you're ready to move on when you can play the House of the Rising Sun, the notes and the chords, again at a steady 60 beats per minute. When you can do these things at those tempos, then you're ready to go to the next session where we'll be learning soloing and also getting into pentatonic scales. To play you out, I'm going to play a little song by J.S. Bach called Bourrée. It's a very common classical piece, and I'll see you next time.